Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavishavahe Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kathopanishad 2:1-12. In the previous class, it was mentioned by the Upanishad, it has to be attained to the mind alone. Manasai Vedamathavyam. This instruction is also repeated in the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad with a slight change of word. Manasa eva drashtavyam. It has to be seen by the mind alone. It has to be attained to the mind alone. Now we know that the pure mind, as Sri Ramakrishna says, the pure intellect, intelligence, and the pure Atman is one. Later on, we will say, like clean water poured into clean water, what happens? The water remains clean. We had also seen that we need to telescope ourselves from the external to the internal. Telescope the senses in the mind in the intelligence, and the intelligence in the Atman. That's the way it has to. You fold yourself up like this inside. We also have seen that the reality is infinite, and compared to that reality, the mind is limited. The Upanishads also say that speech along with the mind cannot reach it and return. So here the Upanishad is saying it has to be attained to the mind alone. Now, to explain how do we know in simple kind of perceptions, according to Vedanta, there are two things that happen. Suppose there is a computer. What happens is you actually perceive the computer inside. After that internal perception, then you can see the computer outside, or a jar or a cloth or tables or chairs, everything. The real perception occurs inside. There are two levels of this. So in Vedanta, there is something called the mental modification, chitta vritti. Now this chitta vritti, the mental modification, takes the form of the object. Suppose you see a jar. It has to be understood that the mind stuff has taken the form of the jar. If the mind form has not taken the external form of the jar, you will not be able to see it, even if that thing is staring at you. The mind, to perceive anything outside, has to take its form. So this is called the mental modification, or chitta vritti. It's a whirlpool in the mind. And since the mind is extremely fast, it can take the forms of multiple things quickly. Vedanta also insists that behind everything, there is consciousness. There's consciousness behind the mental modification, chittavritti. There's consciousness behind the jar, the computer, pot, everything, chair, table. This world is actually just a kind of hidden consciousness. Hidden by what? Objects that appear within this consciousness. So the underlying reality of everything in this world is consciousness. Like the underlying reality of us is consciousness. It cannot be otherwise. And that consciousness is a reality. So the mind takes the form of an object, and the consciousness which is underlying the modification of the mind dispels the ignorance of that object. So the form reveals the object pot. There's a pot outside, and there's a smaller version of that mental form inside of the pot. The underlying consciousness then dispels the ignorance that surrounds the form of the pot, and you say, I know the pot. I know. This knowing comes from consciousness, and the pot comes from the mental modification. Now, if this is difficult, let me simplify it. It's saying, now you've got to think of yourself as the Atman, the reality. Like Vivekananda also says, even Buddha says, as you think, so will you be. As you will think, so will you become. So it is thought that is actually leading the way. It is making us what we will be. If you think of yourself as small and limited and subject to misery and suffering, well, you will start believing in that and you start becoming that. When you start believing yourself as the soul, as the Atman, which is one with reality, then slowly you will become that. This is why they said it has to be attained to the mind alone. But the trained mind, not an untrained mind. A mind trained to think of the reality as I am that reality. And this very mental modification, which is right now, the mental modification, will destroy that ignorance which is covering your own mind. So it is actually the thought, I am that reality, constantly done, will dispel the ignorance about the reality, and we will realize it. This is why they say it has to be attained through the mind alone. This is the best instrument you have, and it has to be fine tuned. It's not fine tuned right now. Why? There are obstructions. There are many obstructions. Torpidity or laziness when you sit down to meditate. Then there's restlessness. That's laya and vikshepa. And then we have something called very deep seated impressions that have become attachments. Attachments come. And then, even after you have dispensed with this, even after you have removed of all these obstructions, there is the bliss of samadhi, rasaswad. It's called so laya Vikshepa, Kashaya, Rasaswada. So this is torpidity, laziness, or drowsiness when you meditate. One is the restlessness, the Vikshepa. One is the Kashaya, the attachments, the deep attachments that we have. And then the bliss of meditation, the bliss of samadhi. These are obstructions. So once we can train our mind to dispense with this, then we can really plunge into this thought that we are that reality, we are that Atman in its purest form. Now, what are the dimensions of this individual self? This has been mentioned in the 12th verse. The reality, Purusa, of the size of the thumb resides in the body, knowing that as the ruler of the past and the future, one does not want, by virtue of that knowledge, to save the self. This indeed is that. Now, it's a tremendous kind of statement here made. The first line of the verse, the second line of the verse has been repeated, which was in the 5th verse, Ishanam Bhuta Bhavyasya Tato Navijagupsate. We have explained that. We will touch on it here. But what is important here is the first line. That Purusha is like the size of a thumb resides in the body. The reality is here in the body. We don't need to go anywhere outside to intuit this reality or to know the reality. It is here now within. And also the dimensions are given. Now you'll say, wow, this is the dimensions of the Atman. What is the dimension? Can you? This is also given in order for us to meditate on it. So this is the thumb. That's the size of my thumb. Okay. The Atman is this size, and our respective thumbs. Yeah. Otherwise, you might think it's just the size of my thumb. No, it's a respective thumbs. Where exactly in the body? Now, here the commentators come and try to explain. They're saying in the center of the chest, here, this is where you, right? So it is actually 12 fingers length like this from the navel up and 12 fingers like this down from the Adam's apple, as they say. That is the place. Now it is within the body. Where exactly in the body? Yeah, people have been undergoing surgery, and doctors, the surgeons, have been operating. There are so many surgeries done by thoracic surgeons or cardiac surgeons, and they haven't seen that reality as this size, the size of the thumb. Where exactly? I remember long time ago, a friend of mine, he was studying medicine and he was doing his internship. And as we know that it's a kind of a very rigorous training. So after one surgery, of a cardiac surgery, the patient, with a simple person, he asks this friend of mine who was doing his internship there, saying, when you opened my chest up, did you see my Atman? Because we have all heard that the Atman resides there in the heart. So my friend was kind of dismissive about it. Oh, no, no, there's nothing. He was more like a kind of an uh, agnostic. He is agnostic. Oh, no, we did not see anything out that. There's no Atman. And we never saw any Atman. And he goes to the next patient and he goes on his rounds. And what happens is the surgery was successful, but the patient became depressed and his vital signs were kind of slowing down. His blood pressure was going up, his blood sugar was rising, he was showing kind of stress and anxiety. So the next day, when the surgeon had come along with this guy, so what happened? You had a remarkable surgery. You're fine. What happened? What's wrong with you? Well, no. When you opened my chest, you all did not see any Atman, which I believe was there. And then the surgeon laughed. Oh, say no, no, no. It is not gross. It is subtle, very subtle, and we can see only with the gross eyes. So we did not see that Atman. Then the surgeon he tells my friend, hey, you see, you don't have to kind of disturb the patient like that. This guy would have died because he was doing well, and suddenly that thought that there was no Atman in him made him so depressed. So when the Upanishads say that Purusa, that reality of the size of a thumb residing in the body, you must understand that it is not the gross body. It is there within the body. We have three bodies. We have the gross body, we have a subtle body, which is actually you, your personality, and we have a causal body. So remember, it's just we have three, not one body. It's the size of a thumb, they said this. Now, at the center of the chest, yeah, there is the lotus. That's the center of consciousness also. There is a lotus like structure. I said lotus like structure. And within that lotus like structure, there is this supreme space. It's called Chidakash. So let me repeat it. In the center of your chest, deep within, actually, it's a core. When you say the heart, deep in the heart, it's deep within the core of your being, there is a structure, a kind of a likened to a lotus. We have petals going up and then we have the petals down. Now, within that lotus, there is something called space inside. And that space here is called Chidakash, the, the consciousness space. And in that consciousness space is that reality. Why is it mentioned as the size of the thumb, as this size? Well, it is mentioned because that supreme space in the core of your being, your heart, is of this size. So the reality appears as if limited by that structure like that of a lotus. if this is not clear, I think mm, that is the way it has been visualized by the sages here. Let me repeat it again. In the core of your being, there is a lotus like structure. And within the lotus like structure is that reality, which is the size of the thumb, like the size of a. This is the dimension of the Atman. Now, when you say, oh, this is the dimension of the Atman, but the Atman is all pervading. Yes, it is all pervading. But there in the core of your being, it appears as of this dimension because of the internal instrument, the antakaran, is kind of you're watching that reality, trying to understand that reality through that antakaran, the inner instrument of the mind, intellect, etc. So it is as it were delimited by that mind, and that's why it appears like that, delimited by the mind in that space. I think this is clear, because this has to be understood, because the next verse also repeats the same instruction. So within that lotus like structure, there is a space. That space is filled by what is called the inner instrument, your internal instrument of mind, etc. And within that space, the reality appears like that. Does the reality appear only there? No, the reflection of that reality appears everywhere. But that is the best and the clearest, you can say, reflection of reality there. In the core of your heart, it is like you're watching that reality like as if in a polished mirror. You see a sun, it's a huge sun, and you take a mirror and you see the reflection of that sun in the mirror. What happens now? Can the real sun be contained within that mirror? No, but it appears as if contained within that mirror, within the dimensions of that mirror. So the sun, a huge sun, or the huge moon, or any object, you take a small piece of glass or mirror and reflect that sun or moon or any object, and that object appears small in compared to what really it is. Similarly, this all pervading Atman appears in that space within the lotus of your heart, of this size, the size of the thumb. Because, like the mirror in the mind is that size. Now, the Upanishad is giving us a location of the reality. Why? For us, in order to realize it through meditation. And meditation, as we know, is going inwards. It's an inward journey. And the more deeper and deeper and deeper one goes in, you will see at the very core of your being that reality. Now, these fingers are part of me. Yeah, fine. Suppose somebody will say, is this a part of you? I said, yes, it's a part of me. Due to some reason, I lose a finger. Will I be, you can say, diminished by this loss? No, because this is not the core of my being. This is the periphery. So you may lose even some parts of your, you can say, physical existence, but the core of your personality, the core of your being is never lost. That's the reason why they say you don't have to meditate on the finger. That's external, that's a periphery. Meditate on your essential, you can say, reality at the core, at your very core. Search there. And when you go there, you will find that reality pervading everything. So there are many things within us, in our thoughts, which are not really our core uh, personalities or beliefs. Suppose we are walking down a street, like I'm taking the name of the Lord, which we are asked to do. All of us, all devotees are, keep a kind of a mental repetition of God's name. At the same time, I'm also seeing the cars and the people on the streets. What is more essential here, Rod? That I am repeating the name of God. So it has become, this is more essential, internal than this. And as we have seen in the previous verses, that from the external, one needs to start one's journey inwards. And as we go deeper and deeper and deeper inside, that you are approaching the very core of your personality. And in the very depths of your personality is that lotus like structure. And within that lotus like structure is this Purusha, the being. Why Purusha? It is called, as a commentator says, Purnam iti anena iti. So that which fills everything is called the Purusha. It fills everything. Every aspect of our being is full. So it is in this location that we can intuit, realize that Purusha. But if Purusha is everywhere, if you can realize it everywhere, yes, that comes on the second stage. When, after realizing in the depths of your heart, the core of your being, one will realize it later everywhere. That's the second stage of realization. You will realize that all is that reality, all is that Purusha, all is that Brahman. Let me repeat it again. That Purusha, that being of the size of a thumb, resides in the body. Now you know where exactly it is in the body. You know what's the size. And the next verse, of course, will tell you its color for you to meditate on it. And for us devotees, how do we conceptualize or visualize that reality of the size of the thumb? As Sri Ramakrishna, or your chosen ideal, or if you like to, if you have been asked to meditate on it as Kali or Durga, as Shiva or Vishnu, here it is. So this chosen ideal now is the form of that reality, as it were, the Purusha. And we are meditating. So every time one meditates on a form, because meditation will need a name and a form. This is essential. We just cannot go straight and meditate on the formless. It is reserved for only the very mature minds and those minds which have finished the process of meditation with forms. Shri Ramakrishna gives an example of Like when you're practicing archery, you take the target which is large so you can shoot at it, aim at it. And then as you become better and better at archery, what happens is the target can be slowly reduced in size till it becomes just a bullseye and you can shoot at it. And Sri Ramakrishna says later on, you can even shoot at a bird flying in the sky. You become such an expert. So, meditation on forms, on divine names and divine forms, leads us to meditation beyond names and forms. It is that reality. There you will realize that reality as without names and like space. Space or air does not have any names or forms, does not have a form. So this is how we gradually. So in that supreme space in the heart is the form of that Purusha. For us and for most of us, in fact, 99.9% of all those who meditate have to meditate on a divine form. And the divine form is Ramakrishna, or Holy Mother, or Swami Vivekananda, or Buddha, or Christ, or Moses, or any other. This is essential because the mind gets focused easily on what has name and form, because the mind works on the principle of name and form. Remove name and form from the mind, and you get something as no mind. So nama rupa, name and form. So this Purusha, the reality with the size of the thumb. And what's the shape? They say the shape is that lotus-like structure. Now, where's that lotus-like structure? Let's get this thing clear. Our entire body has got what you call nerves, what is called also meridians or chi, the channels of prana. These are very subtle nerves. They are not the gross nerves we're talking about, which are in the body. These are very subtle nerves. Some Upanishads, this Upanishad will say there are 101 such nerves that emerge from the heart. The 100 spread out all over the body, and they are very fine, finer than a hair split into 100 parts. The one nerve that goes up from them, it's called nadi. Nerve, nadi. These are subtle channels, or you can say astral tubes, or the tubes that transport prana or chi. In acupuncture or an acupressure, you have what is called the meridians running all through the meridian. What are the meridians? The meridians are those subtle lines of prana, the channels of prana that traverse all over your body and circulate that life energy around you. 5 start from here and they cross over on the right side. 5 start from here, from the right side, and cross over on the left side. They join up here and they circulate all over your body. So those 5 meridians come from here and here right up to your feet. They connect like electricity, forming a loop. So these are channels of prana, life energy or life force, or the very life itself, the element of being, of life. And where do they all connect? They all connect in the heart. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, we had mentioned it the other day also. They don't speak about 101. They speak about 72,000 nerves in your body, the subtle body. They more or less, they overlap over the nervous systems and nerves. And they are filled with different colored liquid serums, it's called. White and brown and red and green. Now these channels spreading out all over the body, circulating this life force all over the body, and along with the life force circulating the mind also. So the mind is everywhere. And because that life force is running very powerfully inside, there is what is called a kind of a leakage, if you can call it. Yeah, the leakage is be better. Some prana material oozes out of these channels, prana channels. And what you get is a kind of a halo around you, or you have something called your astral body. So you have a kind of a halo around you. Yeah. This is because
Is it the Ida and Pingala?
no,
Is
there's no,
that to do with
there's
that?
no. Though Ida and
Is that
Pingala
the
are,
same?
yeah,
Same.
yeah, Ida and Pingala are part of that, but then we're talking about the whole channel coming. So here we are, the prana is suffusing the body, and the excess material oozes out, as it were, of that subtle body into the gross body, and from the gross body it also kind of comes out a little. And this is that halo that people see around you. The different colors. The different colors of that halo are according to the different colored pranas. Why is the prana differently colored? It's colored differently because of past impressions. Past impressions give a kind of a color. What is past impression? Past experiences. Where do they exist? They exist in the mind. And as the mind also runs through these prana channels, so this is called, the prana channels are called nadi. It comes from the word nad. Nad means sound, and that principal sound is the sound of reality. Oh, so your entire being is, as it were, humming inside. Got this? Yeah. And the entire system of these nadis or network of nerves are connected to the heart. From the heart, from that lotus like structure, they issue out and they form circuits and circuits around us. Hmm. So, as we meditate, we are, as it were, pulling our minds back through these channels deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and we enter into that lotus like structure through these channels. And as we enter inside, we see there that reality as the size of a thumb. This is the dimension of the Atman there within oneself. Now it's important to also remember, like the sun, the huge mass of sun can be reflected in a small mirror. So similarly, that all pervading reality is reflected, as it were, in that supreme space within that lotus like structure of the heart. Okay, I think.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah, you've never heard this before. And
Very interesting.
very interesting. And that's the reason why the dimension is given, the dimension of the Atman is given as this. But don't go away with this feeling, oh, the Atman is the size of this thumb. No, it isn't. It appears as the size of the thumb there within the core of your being. And this, how do we enter into the core of our being? Now I've said, you enter into that nadis.
Nadi or Nadi?
Nadi.
R.
N-A-R.
N-A-R.
N-A-D-I.
N-A-E-R.
D-I.
D-R.
The A is the long A, N-A-A-D-I. Nadi. Nadi.
N-A-D. Those nerves.
And when we meditate, we, as it were, remember those nadis, they have the prana running through them. The prana is colored according to your experiences, past experiences. That gives them the color. And there is also the mind running through them. The antakaran, the inner instrument. The antakaran consists of mind, intellect, memory, chitta, and the sense of I, ego, individuality. So every part of your body is suffused with this antakaran, the mind, and the prana, obviously. So that's why even if I crush my little finger here, I feel pain. Wow! Those pains are transmitted by nerves. Yes. So the physical system kind of overlaps, or rather, the subtle systems are kind of the foundation of this, the gross nerves. Only in the subtle nervous system, the nadi system, they are more numerous. And as we meditate, as we take the name of the Lord, what happens is these channels become more and more pure, more and more fine. And as it becomes purer, that is, you are conquering all these subtle impressions, all your past, you are conquering them. And as it were, you are entering into those nerves. You are already in all those nerves, because the sense of I is already in those nerves, nadis, with the mind, with the intellect, with memory. And as you meditate, you, as it were, retract yourself. The Bhagavad Gita says, like a tortoise, when it senses danger, retracts its limbs and along with its head. So similarly, when you meditate, you, as it were, are retracting yourself. That's why when you are meditating, sometimes you become oblivious to sounds or people or even to time. What happens? You, as it were, retracting slowly and slowly and slowly over the years. You can retract yourself and then enter into the cave of the heart. It's also called a cave of the heart, the lotus of the heart, and also the cave of the heart. And as you enter inside there, well, you see that reality. Now, what is the best way for you to retract yourself from all these nerves all over the place and here? Love of God. If that reality is visualized as Ram Krishna or Holy Mother or Kali or Durga or Vivekananda or Buddha or Christ, what happens? That love kind of makes the mind wants to see more and more, experience more and more of that, what you love. And so the mind is withdrawn, retracted into this. And there you see that reality. I hope this is clear.
You see the reality as a form, the form of your Ishta.
Yes,
You see that the form of your
the form of the Ishta is in that supreme space within that lotus like structure or the cave of the heart.
Now, why would you say cave?
Because it is in the deepest recesses of your being. That's
And
why
it's
it's
like a
called
cave.
cave. Yeah. You retract yourself, everything kind of, you pull yourself back over through these nerves and you plunge inside. There you will find that Purusha. Okay. We stop here for now. I think it has been a little too heavy. Uh, okay, but then until unless you don't know the dynamics, it's very difficult for us to meditate, to understand what is meditation, to understand what the Upanishads are talking about, what is the mind, where exactly it is. It is not just located in your head. Now we know that there are these, you can say, neurons discovered also in the gut. There are neurons also that are in, especially in the rat, in the heart muscles. There are neurons discovered. There are also those, the vagus nerves that come out straight from the brain down here. So the brain extends itself all over the body through these nerves. In the Upanishads, that is kind of the very core of your being is here in the heart. Go down there, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. There you'll find that reality inside.
Now, can you go through the repetition of the mantra?
Oh, yes. The
Can you go
repetition
the
of the
repetition
mantra
you can go
and
more.
visualization of the deity along with the repetition
Yes.
takes you to. It is actually, that is our home, our real home. That being of the size of a thumb resides in the body. That is actually our real nature, our home, our abode. We have, as it were, come out. We have spilled outdoors and are running all around the body. So we need to take a reverse journey back home, back to our abode. As Ramakrishna used to like that song, "Oh my mind, let us go back to your abode. Why do you want to travel about in this foreign land?" This is the idea. Then the next line, we haven't even kind of we've been concentrating on the first line.
Question.
Yeah. Knowing him as the ruler of the past and future, one does not want, by the virtue of that knowledge, to save the self. This indeed. We will take this second line. This is an important concept which has already been slightly touched upon in the fifth verse of this section, but we will take this up in the next class, next Wednesday morning. Yeah, morning Pacific time. You have some questions there.
There is a question here. So, is this how Swami Turiyananda could withdraw the consciousness from that part of the body that was undergoing an operation and be immune to pain?
Yeah, immune to pain. That's how. Not only Turiyananda, Swami Trigunatitananda also. He had a fistula operation, kind of very bad. But he told the doctor, no anesthesia. He could withdraw his mind from that. Also, Sri Ramakrishna, uh, when Swami Advaitananda Gopal, Buddha Gopal, was cleaning that sore inside, so Sri Ramakrishna made a kind of expressed that it was hurting him. So Advaitananda said, no, I'm hurting you. I'm not going to clean this for you. So Sri Ramakrishna, no, you don't worry. Come. Now clean it. And Sri Ramakrishna withdrew his mind from there. And then Advaitananda cleaned that sore without any kind of causing any pain. So that's how we can withdraw the mind. Most of us are so externalized that we do not know how to withdraw those mind through those channels. We have let it loose out and we have forgotten how to return home. We've lost our way in the maze of these 72,000 channels, which are as fine as a hair split into 1,000 parts. So, because that mind and the prana is running through all these nerves, you have what is called an aura. Remember, this is that aura we are talking about. Okay, that halo around you is an aura, and people who are jealous will be seen to have a green aura. People who are spiritual will have a kind of a purple aura. People who are red and angry, say red. People who are murderous will have something called a blackish aura. There are people who are calm, they'll have a blue aura. These can be seen. And
By whom?
there are people, there are some animals can sense that aura. Dogs can sense that. There's also that Kirillian photography, the Russian husband and wife thing, that they could photograph auras. Well, you have these things, and those with those special, you can say, abilities, they can see a person aura, and they can understand that person through that aura. Amazing, yeah, it is, but it is a fact because that's on the very subtle level. That's what it is. So once we understand, because there's a suffusion of this prana along with the mind in these various channels all over, that kind of spills over in the body as well as outside the body and appears in the shape of an aura, a halo. And the saints with a kind of with a you can say circle of golden kind of crown, or circle, a golden halo. Yeah, it's actually like that. So these are not imaginary things. These have been actually experienced. Okay. Just one question. Huh? Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.
So there's one last question. Is the gathering in all the dispersed consciousness through all the